On this auspicious occasion of Veterans Day, I am much honored speaking with each one of you and to recognize the men and women serving in our armed forces. It is a day we gather in attitude with respect, honor, and gratitude to pay tribute to all Americans, living or dead, but especially to give thanks to the living veterans who served their country honorably during war and peace. Throughout the United States, American civilians are gathered to honor and give respect, and also to remember each and every one's sacrifice they made and all the courage it takes to defend our country with duty and honor. Who is this person who, when called to action, willingly forsakes their precious life of family, comfort, and security, and embrace a life which is full of danger and uncertainty? They are here among us. On this Veterans Day, November 11, 2020, when the entire country rises to give salute and to honor the service of all brave veterans, a feeling of deep respect and pride surges in one's heart. We also know that our gratitude, respect, and love can in no way match their call to duty or the sacrifices made for the safety and security of our country. However, today we can make a beginning, a new beginning, by acknowledging their endless contribution of helping veterans in whatever way we can. We stand as citizens in support of your mission to guard and protect our nation against threats from within and beyond our borders. For some citizens, patriotism does not involve joining any military branch of service. However, every one of us can enlist ourselves as volunteers for the public good and services of any community work. By doing so, any social work we can give back to our society is worth it, lest the sacrifices done by our veterans go unsung. Let us all together commemorate this Veterans Day by spreading the message of unity. We remember each veteran today who is or who had a role in American military service. We remember today all those who have served under the colors of this country. We commend them for their bravery, their patriotism, and their honor. Let us not forget their families and give them encouragement and comfort. So on this Veterans Day, let us take this great opportunity to express respect, love, gratitude, and words of appreciation towards all veterans. And the least we can do this Veterans Day is that we give thanks to all the service men and women who have ever served our nation, and I salute every one of them. And most of all, may we pray for peace. Thank you.
The dictionary says patriotism means the quality of being patriotic, devotion to and vigorous support for one's country. But to me, it is so much more than that. Patriotism to me is many things. Loving your country with all your heart, seeing the flag and being proud to live here. Trying to make your country a better place, accepting the flaws and trying to fix them. Being grateful for the fact that we have freedom. Knowing that I am protected by the millions of men and women who have died or put their life on the line, not only for their country but for the people who need to be fought for. I'm really thankful for the fact that I live in America. I have the freedom to choose where I want to work and live, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to press. We have so many rights and privileges compared to other countries. People with disabilities can get the help, care, and love that they need instead of being killed just because they're different than most of us. The homeless have stations where they can get food, water, and shelter that they need instead of being left for dead on the street. We get to choose who we want to love, what we want to wear, and what to eat, where we want to live, and so much more. But just like everything else, America isn't perfect, and it has flaws. In the age where we are the most connected, we are also the most divided. It's always us versus them. People hate each other just because they have different opinions on who should be president, what is right or wrong, or who they love. We have seen it even more this year with the riots, with people screaming at each other and setting things on fire. But I believe that we can get better, that we can try and fix all the problems and grow for them. It will take time, but I believe that we could get there one day. Even if America has flaws and areas it needs to change, I'm still thankful to go home and have the freedoms that so many people don't have, to go at bed at night at peace knowing I am protected. I'm so grateful that I am American and will be grateful until my last breath.
My name is Jerome Nist. I'm a video productions teacher and computer teacher at Canton Middle School. I've been teaching there for about 25 years, and I was in the United States Army from 1983 to 1987. I pretty much grew up in Ohio and Plain local most of my life. I didn't have this family tradition of military or the strong desire to serve my country. Mine was more of a an economic choice and a choice of timing, and I ended up joining the military just past high school. While I was in the service, it was during peacetime, so I don't have any combat stories or firefights in foxholes or anything like that. It was a beneficial experience. I spent 2 years in Augsburg, Germany, and 2 years in Fort Hood, Texas. And although it's people that don't serve during military combat time, people that do serve are just as important as just acting as a deterrent for other countries to know that you're ready to go to war if you have to. The military converted my life in so many different aspects. For a long time when I got out of the military, I couldn't walk next to somebody without shuffling my feet and getting in step with them. A lot of that stuff wears off over time, but even to this day, I'm not a very neat person, but everything in my closet is hung the exact way it was when I was in the military. Everything's got to be going the same way. The military provided my life with a lot of discipline. It provided me with the strength. I don't think I had the strength or the discipline to get through college prior to the military, and I think that really helped me get through school when I got out. To me, the importance of Veterans Day, and I talk to students when we go to the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C. when we were going there, I try to get them to look at the wall and realize that every one of those names on that wall it's not just an etching with letters. I mean, it's people. It's people, as I sit here in Hoover High School, it's people that walked out of this building and graduated and went and gave their lives. Obviously not all of them, but all the ones on the wall went and gave their lives. They were people. They were people's brothers and people's sisters. They were sons. They were uncles. They were cousins. They were people that aren't just names, but rather persons. I think in Veterans Day we take that time just to pause for a moment, think about those people and all that they sacrifice, and even the people that obviously not everybody dies in the military, but what they give up, the time that they give up, so that we can be afforded to be able to do the things that we want to do. You know, I had this opportunity to think back on my time in the military. Boy, am I old. I think back to the 2 years I spent in Germany. My then fiance and now my wife, there was no cell phones. That makes me laugh. And there was no internet. So we had to write letters and communicate with, getting a payphone and call back and forth. And I just think that really developed our relationship over the years, and I think it made us stronger, and we've been able to stay married for 35 years. I just think that it was just quite a unique experience. I wouldn't have been able to see parts of Europe. I was able to see Germany and London, Belgium, Austria. I learned how to ski over there. It was just a great experience. It was a great 4 years.
So my name is Shannon Morgner. I work at Canton Middle School. I served in the United States Navy for 5 years. I didn't originally realize that I wanted to be in the military until probably my junior or senior year in high school. I just realized that I wanted a change. I grew up in Worcester, Ohio, small town back in the day. I just wanted to get out of town for a little bit, explore things outside of Worcester. Sure, so when I was in high school, I had joined the delayed entry program, which allows you to join early. I graduated from high school early and went to boot camp in Orlando, Florida. I graduated top of my class, went to A school, which we call, is where we learn our field of trade. I became an aviation machinist mate. That's airline or aviation mechanic for F-14s and F-16s. I went to school in Tennessee. My time there, I graduated second in my class in Tennessee from my A school and was due to be stationed in Hawaii. Back in the day, they did not allow women to go in all places and do all things. So my orders were changed to Virginia Beach, NAS Oceana, where I worked there for the rest of my 5 years. One of the things that have benefited through the military is some of the standards have changed, where women can do things that men didn't used to be able to do. So back in 1994, I believe, they commissioned the USS George Washington, which is an aircraft carrier that was stationed. I was one of the first of 30 women that were going to be chosen You had to qualify and be chosen to go on that aircraft carrier. I was chosen by the CO. However, I did not make the trip, but I am glad to see that standards are changing for women to do and be able to do more things for the military. I learned a lot in the military. One of the greatest things I learned was a respect for authority and chain of command. We learned teamwork. We learned through hard work you have success. You didn't take a lot of days off. You didn't call in sick. You didn't just not show up to work. You became very dependent on your coworkers and they depended on you. And you learned very quickly that hard work leads to success. And we are missions, they're important. So you did your best. You didn't fail. I think one of the most important things that students need to know is the sacrifice that people make. And I'm not just talking about the soldiers and the airmen and the ordnance people and everybody who goes out into the field, but the sacrifice that families make. We here at North Canton work with military kids, and it's a huge sacrifice. Wives that sacrifice, husbands that sacrifice, and children and students that sacrifice, brothers and sisters that sacrifice. And I think it's uncomprehendable when we say freedom isn't free, the sacrifice that our soldiers and our Marines and Air Force and Army and Navy crewmen make doesn't even compare to the sacrifice that families back home are sacrificing. And so I feel like it's important that if you are a military family member at North Canton, that you tell somebody. We have support for you and to get through the difficult times. I enjoyed being in the military. I value it. Most people that I know also value it, and it's a great way of life. My husband spent 24 years active duty, was an Army officer. We had a military family. I encourage it. I think there's a lot to be learned, and I think there's a lot to grow from being in the military. Honestly, I think everybody should do it.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out its true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Rev. Martin Luther King, Jr. Patriotism is defined as support in one's country, but to me, patriotism does not mean a flag in the yard or sign of who you're going to vote for. Patriotism to me is the belief that my country can always be better. I don't think America will ever be perfect, and that's the challenge. Patriotism to me is wanting my country to be better and actively trying to make it a better place for everyone. They say that this is a free country. When they say free, who do they actually mean? The reality of our country is, right now, is not everyone is. White supremacy does exist, but again, why? Once again, I think patriotism is wanting our country to be the best it can be, so why has nothing changed? What are we waiting for? Our country has made so many improvements, but why stop here? I want my country to be safe, not just for me, but for every single person that calls America home. Martin Luther King Jr., in my opinion, is the perfect model of patriotism. He truly understands our country's racial history and wanted to make a change, and he did. He played a huge part in the American Civil Rights Movement and fought for equality for peace. He changed history, and his contributions are still being recognized today. My favorite Martin Luther King Jr. quote is, "Where I got my meaning of patriotism." I criticize America because I love her and because I want to see her stand as a moral example of the world. Martin Luther King Jr. Patriotism is not putting down other countries or being xenophobic. Patriotism is wanting our country to stand as an example for the future generations and bringing change to America.
My name is Michelle Renner. I am a secretary at North Canton Middle School in the guidance office. I have been working for North Canton Middle School for 20 years. I was in the United States Air Force and the Ohio Air National Guard for 4 years. I grew up in upstate New York in a small town called Herkimer that is near Cooperstown, New York, where the Baseball Hall of Fame is. I decided about my junior year to start investigating the military branches because I really wasn't interested in going to college at that time. And I had talked to an Air Force recruiter and an Army recruiter, and I had decided to go with the Air Force. I think as I was going through pictures, remembering things over the years, the thing that stuck out the most to me was when I was in training in Biloxi, Mississippi for my job, we had a hurricane. And I think a lot of people think about the military as being strictly combat. The military is also service, and by having that hurricane come through Biloxi, we were expected to serve the community, and we helped get that community back up and running. So that sticks out a lot in my mind. I think being in the military has made me a more disciplined person. I appreciate freedom more. I think the thing I want students to remember is that our veterans are important to us because of the freedom that this country has. Today, our freedoms continue with people serving in the military, but I don't want people to forget about all of the people that have served and are no longer here. So I think that's what is the most important thing about Veterans Day for me. I think what I want students to know is that being in the military isn't just going to war. There's a lot of different aspects of being in the military. There's a lot of support jobs in the military that the people that are going to combat need those support people that might stay in the United States or on a military installation. Military installations are similar to a community like North Canton, a small town, and everyone supports each other. So I think that's what I want students to know about, that there are other options besides going to college, and the military has a lot to offer. There's also college available in the military. So it's something that I think if you're not really sure of what you want to do, that it would be a great thing to look into.
Heroes from the Marine Corps, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Navy risk their lives to protect millions of people every single day. These people have a duty and a loyalty to their own nation. Men and women in all military branches protect other citizens who feel alone, unsafe, or unsure of where they stand. Although I can never put the meaning of patriotism into real words, I will say it has many different and powerful meanings that some may never understand. My late grandfather Charlie served in the U.S. Army for 2 years. He was drafted and served from 1966 to 1968 in Fort Hood, Texas, as military police. My mother and her sisters back then were all probably scared every time he left home, not knowing if he would come back home in one piece or come back home at all. Sharing a personal piece of information like that can be difficult for many, but heroes like my grandfather would want to be remembered as someone who served his country with devotion. Patriotism is, from my perspective, is meaningful and positive. When I think of patriotism, I think about all the good things veterans do for our country. They protect us and they fight for us and our freedom. These are all things to be honored. I wonder what patriotism means to those veterans. Mike Mueller, age 32, was captain in the U.S. Army, and he served in Iraq and Afghanistan. He believes patriotism is not about supporting people in leadership. It's about supporting the idea of America and what it really is. I agree with Mike. What matters is support for the country and others surrounding us. Steve Smith, age 56, lieutenant in the U.S. Navy, served during the Iran-Iraq War. Patriotism is putting the country before self. Patriotism can be expressed in a number of ways, not just by service in the government or military, says Lieutenant Smith. People who don't serve still certainly have a part in showing patriotism. Patriotism is a very meaningful and powerful word. Although I may never fully understand what it truly means, I know patriotism is really about people, the people who pour their life and soul into supporting America.